Before the first hands were folded, before the first words were lifted upward, before longing learned how to kneel, presence was already here. Prayer arose as humanity's most beautiful ache, a language of sincerity, a reaching born from the feeling of distance, and for a time it was enough. But what if the divine was never away? What if nothing ever needed to be summoned, persuaded, or answered later? What if every breath has always been moving inside the reply? This is not the end of prayer. It is the moment prayer fulfills itself. Here, asking gives way to breathing. Waiting dissolves into timing. Hope softens into knowing. And silence is revealed not as absence, but as perfect intelligence unfolding. Communion is not something you practice. It is what remains when separation is finally seen through. Not passive acceptance, but active life, lived inside presence itself, where action arrives whole and unbroken. In this space you do not send messages to the divine. You walk as its movement. You breathe as its cadence. You live inside the answer now. So let's walk together as friends, slowly and without effort, and see what we discover as we explore beyond prayer. Living in communion with the divine, I'm Patrick Carradine, and this is UTN, Beyond Prayer. Living in communion with the divine Patrick Carradine, Unified Theistic Naturalism Publications, DOI. Abstract prayer has been revered for millennia as the bridge between humanity and the divine. Prophets, saints, philosophers, and spiritual masters have knelt in earnest, seeking answers, comfort, and guidance. Yet unified theistic naturalism invites a deeper seeing. When communion is lived, there is no need for prayer as petition. The divine is not distant. Presence breathes now. This paper explores the beautiful legacy of prayer, the limitations inherent in its structure, and the profound simplicity of living daily in unbroken communion with the divine, where answers are not delayed, presence is not absent, and paradise is breathed now. Introduction. Throughout history, prayer has been the sacred language of longing. Jesus prayed, Muhammad prayed, Buddha in his way prayed, millions still galley in homes, temples, churches, mosques, folding hands, bowing heads, lifting voices upward. Prayer is not wrong. It is beautiful in its sincerity. It arises from the deepest yearning to reconnect with what feels lost. What if the divine was never distant? What if the act of prayer itself unknowingly sustains the illusion of separation? What if the longing that prayer expresses could be fulfilled instantly through living communion? UTN offers this living vision. Prayer was a bridge when separation was believed. Communion is the breath when separation is seen as illusion. What prayer assumes, prayer begins with a structure. Divine is somewhere else. I am here. I must call out, ask, hope, wait. Prayer assumes distance. Prayer assumes absence. Prayer assumes time. Now I pray. Later the divine responds, maybe. This structure cannot help but create a lingering ache. Am I heard? Will the divine answer? What must I do to be worthy of a reply? Thus, in its most sincere form, prayer is a love letter sent across an imagined distance. In presence, there is no distance to send it across. The dilemma of divine omnipresence: if the divine is everywhere, in every breath, in every atom, in every unfolding moment, then how could the divine be absent? Why must a request be posted? Why must answers be awaited? This is the silent dilemma. Prayer unknowingly suggests a divine who leaves and returns, but presence leaves nowhere and needs no return. If the divine is here now, then communion, not prayer, is the natural breath of being. What is communion? Communion is not an activity. It is not a session. It is not an appointment with the divine. Communion is living breath to breath with the divine presence, silent knowing without words, seamless awareness without waiting. In communion, there is no need to ask, because you are already walking inside the answer. There is no need to wait, because the divine unfolds perfect action moment by moment. Communion is not passive acceptance. It is active living inside the living intelligence of being. You do not leave notes for the divine. You walk, breathe, and move as the living expression of presence. The difference between prayer and communion: prayer, communion, assumes distance, lives seamless presence, sends requests, breathes, answers now, waits for response, moves in perfect action, immediately holds hope, lives fulfillment, preserves separation, dissolves separation, living questions to the reader before fear or offense arises. Pause. If the divine is truly everywhere, why must you send a request to be heard? If presence breathes now, why must answers come later? Could it be that what you seek is not delayed, but waiting to be seen now? Could it be that the deepest prayer is already answered by the very breath you are breathing? Conclusion prayer was born from the sincerity of longing. It was a beautiful step for a humanity that believed it was far from the divine. But now the invitation breathes. Communion was never lost. Presence never left. The divine was never apart from you. Living in communion, you no longer wait for heaven to reply. You live the divine cadence now, breathing perfect action without interruption, without doubt, without delay. Paradise is not achieved by prayer. Paradise is lived by presence. Stop waiting. Start breathing. Communion is now. What an extraordinary journey this has been. We stood before the mirror long enough to see ourselves clearly, not as we were told to be, not as our robes described us, but as we are when nothing is being defended. We trace the line together, the unwavering cadence beneath every framework, the silent constant that has always been present even while names, beliefs, and identities rose and fell around it. If something softened in you, if something loosened its grip, if something finally exhaled, that is not learning. That is recognition. And now the path opens again. 3 doors stand before us, each humming with its own quiet invitation. You may choose any one. No matter which you step through, I will meet you there, and we will walk as friends, slowly, without effort, to see what we discover. Door 1. The marketplace of robes, a vast square filled with voices, sincerity, color, and exchange, where seekers trade coins for coverings, hoping to be free. And reflect. Which robe have I worn the longest, and what did I believe it gave me? Have my coins been dissolved, or only hidden more elegantly? What would it mean to step out of the marketplace entirely? Door 2. You are the rich young ruler, a quiet encounter where nothing is demanded aloud, yet everything cherished is gently revealed. And reflect, what attachments still sparkle as necessary or good in my life? What is the unseen cost, energy, health, peace of holding them? If I released what I admire most, who would I be without it? Door 3. But what if I want to keep my robe? A tender hesitation at the threshold, where honesty replaces spiritual performance. And reflect, am I ready for communion, or do I still need the safety of form? What fear arises when I imagine life without my robe? Can I allow readiness to unfold without forcing departure? These are not lessons, they are landscapes. So let's walk together as friends, without pressure, without exchange, and see what reveals itself when nothing is being sold and nothing is being withheld. I'm Patrick Carradine, and this is UTN.